Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, text number 8. Word for word, Kechit Sva Dehantar Hridayavakashe Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjam Ratanga Shankha Gara Dharam Dharanaya Smaranti Kechit Sudehanta Hridaya Vakashkashe Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjaratanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti Kechit Sudehanta Hridayavakashe Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjaratanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti Kechit Sudehanta Hridayavakashe Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjaratanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti
Kechit Sudehanta Hridayavakashe
Sudehanta Hridayavakashe
Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam
Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam
Chaturbhujam Kanja Vitanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti
Smaranti
Kechit Svedehanta Hridayavakashe Pradesha Matrang Purushang Vasantam Chaturbhujang Kanjaratanga Shankha Gadadharang Dharanaya Smaranti
Smaranti
Kechit Svedehanta Hridayavakashe
Kechit Sudehanta Hridayavakashe
Pradesha Matrang Purusham Vasantam
Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam
Chaturbhujam Ganjanaratanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti
Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti
Kechit Svedehanta Hridayavakashe
Pradeshamatram Purusham Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjaratam Dashanka Gadadam Mandarayanya Smaranti
Swadeham Pahidaya Vakashi
Ichisudehan Hridaya Vashi
Pradeshamatram Purusham Vasantam
Pradeshamatram Purusham Vasantam
Chaturbhujam Kanjaratanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharmaya Smaranti.
Kechit Sawat Ehantar Hidraya Vakashe
Dehan Hridaya Vashi
Pradeshamatram Purusham Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjaratanga Shankha
Shanga
Gadadhararam Dharanaya Samranti
Ichit Swadehan Tahidaya Vakashe
Daya
Pradesha Matrang Purushang Vasantam Chaturbhujam Kanjanratanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharanaya Smaranti.
Word for word. Kechit, others. Swadeha Antaha, within the body. Hridaya Avakashe, in the region of the heart. Pradesha Matram, measuring only 8 inches. Purusham, the personality of Godhead. Vasantam, residing. Chatubhujam, with 4 hands. Kanja, lotus. Rata Anga, the wheel of a chariot. Shankha, conch shell. Gadadharam, and with a club in the hand. Dharanaya, conceiving in that way. Smaranti, do meditate upon him. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Others conceive of the personality of Godhead residing within the body in the region of the heart and measuring only 8 inches, with 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club respectively. Purport. The all-pervading personality of Godhead resides as Paramatma in the heart of each and every living entity. The measurement of the localized personality of Godhead is estimated to expand from the ring finger to the end of the thumb, more or less 8 inches. The form of the Lord described in this verse with distribution of different symbols beginning from the lower right hand up and down to the lower left hand with lotus, wheel of a chariot, conch shell, and club respectively is called Janardana, or the plenary portion of the Lord who controls the general mass. There are many other forms of the Lord with varied situations of the symbols of lotus, conch shell, etc., and they are differently known as Purushottama, Achyuta, Narasingha, Trivikram, Rishikesh, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarsana, Sridhar, Vasudev, Damodar, Janardana, Narayan, Hari, Padmanabha, Vamana, Madhusudana, Govinda, Krishna, Vishnumurti, Adhokshaja, and Upendra. These 24 forms of the localized personality Godhead are worshipped in different parts of the planetary system. And each system, there is an incarnation of the Lord having a different Vaikuntha planet in the spiritual sky, which is called the Paravyoma. There are many other hundreds and scores of different forms of the Lord, and each and every one of them has a particular planet in the spiritual sky, of which this material sky is only a fragmental offshoot. The Lord exists as Purusha, or the male enjoyer, although there is no comparing him to any male form in the material world. But all such forms are Advaita, non-different from one another. And each of them is eternally young. The young Lord with 4 hands is nicely decorated as described above. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurumalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that he is seated in the heart of all the living entities. Hrideshe Arjuna Tishati says in the 18th chapter, he's seated in the heart of all living entities. So he is seated there as a super soul, and we're hearing this measurement of the Lord is about 8 inches. And what he looks like: 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel, the chariot, conch shell, and club, respectively. So we know that this is the super soul, an expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And in the spiritual world, in the Paravyoma, the Tripad Vibhuti, which is a 3/4 of the creation, in that place there are so many planets which reside as a particular form of the Lord that is worshipable. As we hear here, Purushotama, Achyuta, Narasimha, Trivikram, Rishikesh, Damodar, etc., etc. And in the highest planets in the spiritual world is Goloka Vrindavan. It's compared to, the spiritual world is compared to like a lotus flower. And you have all the petals, which are all the various planets. And then you have the center, which is the Goloka Vrindavan, the highest planet, So that's the most esoteric knowledge we're getting from Lord Chaitanya, which is very accessible, which is that Goloko Prema, we want to attain this pure love for Krishna, Prema Pamartha Mahan, and he's displaying the highest rasa, which is the mood of separation, in conjugal rasa with Lord Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya has given us freely that knowledge and that opportunity to gain entrance into the spiritual world through this process of Sankirtan. So it's helpful to know this, that the Lord is in the heart of all living entities. And there's some verse in Bhagavad Gita which speaks about how basically there's that picture which shows the sage, and he sees that the Lord is in the heart of the cow, the elephant, or the tree, the person, so many living entities. So if one knows that the super soul is there in your heart and in my heart and everybody's heart, then one can actually one can practice nonviolence, because one understands that Krishna is present everywhere. Of course, if one comes to that realization, then one can one will not want to harm any other living entities because they see that the Lord is there in the heart and they don't want to hurt the Lord also. Of course, you can't hurt the Lord, but the Lord is connected to all living beings. So then if you feel that connection, then you feel like everybody is your brother and sister. So that is where true unity comes from, is seeing that the Lord is equal to all living entities and understanding that Krishna or the Lord resides in the heart of all living entities. So are there any comments or questions about this particular verse? Yes, Guru Maharaj?
The form of the Lord in the heart is proportionate to the size of the body. So if it's a little insect, it's not 8 inches. It would be 8 inches proportionately, 8 inches for a human, proportionally for a little insect, and vice versa for the elephant to the bigger species bodies.
Thank you. I'll go on to the next verse. Text 9. His mouth expresses his happiness. His eyes spread like the petals of a lotus, and his garments, yellowish like the saffron of a kadamba flower, are bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. Text 10. His lotus feet are placed over the whorls of the lotus-like hearts of great mystics. On his chest is the Kaustuba jewel, engraved with a beautiful calf, and there are other jewels on his shoulders. His complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. Purport. The ornaments, flowers, clothing, and all other decorations on the transcendental body of the personality of Godhead are identical with the body of the Lord. None of them are made of material ingredients, otherwise there would be no chance of their decorating the body of the Lord. As such, in the Paravyoma, spiritual varieties are also distinguished from the material variegatedness. Text 11. He is well decorated with an ornamental wreath about his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers. His leglets, his bangles, his oiled hair, curling with a bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling face are all very pleasing. Purport. The Supreme Personality Godhead is the most beautiful person amongst all others, and Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes every part of his transcendental beauty, one after another, in order to teach the impersonalist that the personality of Godhead is not an imagination, but the devotee. Shukadeva Goswami describes every part of his transcendental beauty, one after another, in order to teach the impersonalist that the personality of Godhead is not imagination by the devotee or facility of worship, but is the supreme person in fact and figure. The impersonal feature of the absolute truth is but his radiation, as the sun rays are but radiations from the sun. Yes?
The Vaikuntha planets, these are different Vaikuntha planets described. They're for those mystics and souls that want to relate with the Lord as servants. That's the predominant rasa there, servitude. Whereas in Goloka, there are more varieties of rasas available, such as friendship, parental love, and conjugal love. This also explains why when Krishna comes, his activities are so important when he comes to the material world, because he displays all the different types of rasas in complete. For example, there were many women who saw Lord Ramachandra when he was present on the earth. And they became captivated by his beauty, and they wanted to become his wives. And they expressed that to the Lord in different ways. So Lord appreciated their desire, but explained that he couldn't fulfill it in that incarnation. For example, because he had taken a vow to only have one wife. So he couldn't have more. He wouldn't break that vow. Even when it came time for, after Sita had departed from the earth, Lord Ramachandra continued to rule the earth from Ayodhya, but according to Vedic principles, the king is supposed to have a wife to perform certain sacrifices together. The wife had to be there. So what he did was he got he got a golden form of Sita, and the golden form of Sita was installed there. And so she could participate in the sacrifice. And after this happened, every year there's another golden, because he wouldn't accept more than one wife. So he had one. Then there were many of these deities, and they wanted to have a loving relationship, active loving relationship, other than just during the sacrifice. So according to Sri Garga Samhita, Lord Ramachandra denied them also. He said, I just have one wife. But he gave them a blessing. Both Sitas, deities, and other women, the Aborigine women of the forest, and the women of the city, and anyone who saw him, even sometimes sages, developed a conjugal desire. So Lord Ramachandra promised them all that they would be able to come and be with him as his wives' conjugal relationship when he came as Krishna. And they all got that desire fulfilled when Krishna came. There's many, many types of gopis and queens. Some of them got to be queens, some of them got to be gopis and associate with Krishna. That's because Krishna can accommodate all these different types of relationships. As we see, he has a certain type of Swakiya rasa with his married wives, and Parakiya rasa, different type of relationship with the gopis who he's not married to, paramours. And these are appreciated especially by the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated all these different rasas. And Srila Rupa Goswami is known as Rasacharya. He's the professor of rasa. And his Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu deals with that. And he is expounding on these different varieties, and the Gora Rupanugas and the the disciples and followers of Lord Chaitanya, they appreciate all these different rasas that Lord Krishna entertains. And when he comes, it's special. The other incarnations are also special, but when Krishna comes, it's really special because, for one reason, all of these different rasas, he could have 16,108 wives and not be inconsiderate to any of them, not neglect any of them, give them all equal treatment, and they were completely satisfied. And he, at the same time, he was known for his dancing with gopis. It wasn't just a secret, it was well known to many. And he did that without breaking any of the principles, without transgressing any laws, because of his extraordinary position as Krishna. He was able to do all these different things and keep his moral principles. Even Bhishma said in the Rajasuya sacrifice, he said, I'm known as a brahmachari, I took a vow, but Krishna is a greater brahmachari than anyone because he doesn't become agitated by any material, lustful motives, all transcendental.
Hi. Thank you. Any comments or questions? So in this verse 11, one point Prabhupada highlights in the purport is that Krishna is the most beautiful person amongst all others. And so we're hearing descriptions about the beauty of Krishna. And this is the special thing about the personalist or the Vaishnava is that they accept the personal form of the Lord. And that personal form is the most beautiful, and he has the most knowledge, and he's the supreme personality of God. He's supreme in all categories. And nowhere in the material world have we seen such a person or met such a person who has those. So he's supremely attractive. And his personal beauty, it attracts all living entities. Yad yad vibhuti mat satam Srimad urjtam evava tatat evat vigapchatam mamatem chosam sambhavam. So whatever beautiful thing we see in this world is just a spark of Krishna's splendor. Whether it's a beautiful sunset or a beautiful woman or man or animal or whatever, flower, it's only some spark of Krishna's splendor. And then we hear as well that Lord Chaitanya, we sing every night, Lord Chaitanya's face is more beautiful than millions of moons. Bahu Koti Chandrajini Badana Ujvala. So the moon is very beautiful, right? It's very luminous. But imagine millions of moons. And that is the comparison of the beauty of Lord Chaitanya's face. Of course, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. So if we want to, everything that's beautiful in this world will ultimately not give us that fulfillment that we're looking for. So we seek to see beautiful things, but there's always going to be some flip side to it in the material world because it decays in time, and that is just simply the laws of nature. But Krishna's beauty is transcendental and eternal. So everything is beautiful about Krishna. His pastimes, his dealings with devotees, his form, etc. So if one has a motivation to see beauty, then one should seek that in Krishna and Krishna, anything in Krishna consciousness. Like even the pure devotees take on that quality, like Maharaj sometimes tells about his story when he first met. Oh, he met his friend, and his friend said do you want to see the most beautiful person? And Maharaj's like, okay. And he wasn't expecting him to show him a picture of Srila Prabhupada. But the devotees take on that quality of those qualities of Krishna. Did you have a question, Magadari?
Recently, I'm not sure where I heard it, but it was some statements in the same vein that you're speaking now, that Krishna's beauty is incomparable. And when we see Krishna, then basically we don't want to see anything else. And I guess I'm kind of confused about it, because we say that the deity is Krishna. We understand that that's the Shastric conclusion. And the painting of Krishna is also Krishna, and the name of Krishna is Krishna. But I'm seeing it, at least I think I'm seeing it, but I still have other attractions to other forms. So much so that I may look at the deity and close my eyes, and then I'll see some other forms. So it's, I guess I don't know what, am I seeing Krishna yet?
To a degree, you have revelation that the deity is Krishna, but to what degree is that revelation mature? So we may be seeing the deity, and of course, most people in this world will see the deity and not have any sort of attraction to the deity because they don't have that purified vision. But we have some revelation that the deity is Krishna, so we have some attraction to the deity. And so that attraction can help us become less attracted to forms of this world, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have that, deep revelation of really seeing, Krishna and being completely captivated by him personally. So yeah, it's about revelation. How much is it Krishna revealing himself to us? But like I said, it's not, that's about forms, but it's not, beauty can also be experienced through the holy name and Krishna's pastimes and etc. like that. Anything in relation to Krishna consciousness, service to Krishna. But then we give up those kind of seeking beauty in this material world, seeking to get enjoyment from beauty of this world. So when one has deep revelation and Krishna is revealing himself more and more and more, then one gets more and more of a higher taste and gives up attraction to this material world and has that sort of renunciation. So it takes some time to purify the senses for that revelation, higher taste, and renunciation to mature enough to where we're totally disinterested in anything material. So it's like, 259, that we have the senses and they they still have taste for sense objects. So the eyes still want to see, they still have a taste for seeing material beauty. But with the higher taste, one isn't disinterested in material beauty. So Shastra gives certain things to do if you really want to see if you're attached to, if you really have a propensity to enjoy beautiful forms, then one prays to Madana Mohan, and one tries to find beauty in the deity and various decorations and things like that. So, thank you very much for attending Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.